Hello, you're watching ERi-TV English News Broadcast live from headquarters in Asmara. I'm Han Berkhat. Let's first look at the top stories that are making headlines today. Announcement from the Minister of Health. Call for follow-up in guiding their children. Iran's IRGC launched attack against positions of terrorists in Iraq's Erbil. China says warned U.S. warship as it transited Taiwan Strait. We have an announcement from the Minister of Health. 2 patients have been diagnosed positive for COVID-19 in tests carried out today at testing stations in Baron-2, Gashbarka region. On the other hand, 1 patient who has been receiving medical treatment in hospital in the central region has recovered fully and has been discharged from the facility. The total number of covered patients has accordingly increased to 9,632, while the number of deaths stands at 103. The total number of confirmed cases in the country to date has risen to 9,740. Minister of Health, Asmara, 11 May 2022. Lieutenant Colonel Girmay Gebremeskel, acting commander of police force in the central region, called on parents to reinforce contribution in nurturing youth that adhere to the noble societal values and to refrain from involving in any sort of crimes. Lieutenant Colonel Girmay made the call at the meeting held on 10 May with parents, heads of branch offices of the Ministry of Education, school directors as well as administrators of Edaga Hamus and Abba Shaul subzones. Lieutenant Colonel Girmay also called for strengthening cooperation with police force in the controlling the prevalence of crimes and petty offences that are being witnessed in the subzones. Speaking at the event, Mr. Belay Habtegaber, head of the Ministry of Education branch in the central region, expressed readiness to play due part in cooperation with partners in the effort and called on parents to conduct daily follow-up on the condition of their children. The participants conducted extensive discussion on the reports presented and adopted various recommendations, including for strengthening the relationship between parents and students and school committees. Meeting on developing capacity as well as nurturing competent students was organized in Ginda subzone. At the meeting, Mr. Salahuddin Ali, head of the National Union of Eritrean Youth and Students branch in the subzone, indicated that effort is being exerted to enable students to reinforce their participation in the national development drives and preserve their history, culture, and identity as well as their natural resources. Mr. Salahuddin also called on the public to strengthen participation in the effort to provide students proper guidance and follow-up in their daily activities to ensure that they are free from the negative peer group influence and become competent in their education, pointing out that a bright future could be realized by today's strong effort and clear vision. Mr. Ibrahim Umar, head of the Ministry of Labor and Social Welfare in the subzone, called on the students to concentrate on their education and become competitive. The participants on their part said that the seminar will have significant contribution in developing their overall understanding and called for organizing similar seminars to students in the other parts of the subzone. Popular campaign to renovate the dirt road connecting Tafa Nifas with Midfa Walta and Nahili subzone is being conducted in cooperation with the residents and members of the Eritrean Defense Forces. The road has been damaged due to flooding and was very difficult for vehicles. The road has also significant importance in the facilitating the daily lives of the residents, and with its renovation their problem will be addressed. Commending the strong participation the residents and members of the Eritrean Defense Forces are demonstrating in the campaign, Mr. Hasfo Adu, administrator of the subzone, called for reinforced participation until completion of the program. The residents on their part, commending the support they were provided by the members of the Eritrean Defense Forces, expressed readiness to reinforce participation. We will be back with international news. Stay tuned. Iran's Islamic Revolution Guards Corps has targeted and destroyed positions of terrorist groups operating near the country's western borders in Erbil, the capital of Iraq's semi-autonomous Kurdistan region. According to a statement published, the IRGC ground force launched the attack on Wednesday morning. The IRGC said its ground forces had earlier arrested all 5 members of a terrorist team who were planning to carry out activities on Iran's soil. Confessions made by the detained terrorists led to the IRGC's attack on the positions of terrorists on Wednesday morning, the statement added. Iran has on countless occasions warning Iraq's semi-autonomous Kurdistan region that it will not tolerate the presence and activity of terrorist groups along its northwestern borders, saying the country will give a response should those areas become a hub of anti-Islamic Republic terrorists. China's military said on Wednesday that it had monitored and warned a U.S. warship that had sailed through the sensitive Taiwan Strait, a mission that happened shortly after China carried out drills near the island. The U.S. Navy's 7th Fleet said the guided missile cruiser USS Port Royal conducted a routine Taiwan Strait transit through international waters. In accordance with international law, on Tuesday, the second such mission in 2 weeks. The U.S. has been carrying out such voyages about once a month, angering China, which views them as a sign of support for Taiwan, the governed island that Beijing views on Chinese territory. The U.S. Navy said the ship transited through a corridor in the strait that is beyond the territorial sea of any coastal state. Taiwan's defense ministry said the U.S. ship sailed north through the strait and that the situation in the waterway was as normal. China's armed forces carried out another round of exercises near Taiwan last week to improve joint combat operations. Before we close for today's news, let's have a recap of the headlines tonight. Announcement from the Minister of Health. Call for follow-up in guiding their children. Iran's IRGC launches attack against positions of terrorists in Iraq's Erbil. China says warned U.S. warship as it transited Taiwan Strait. That was all for today's news. Thanks for watching. Have a great night.